Welcome to the Uncanny Valley podcast. This is where we explore some of the hidden depths behind systems and ideas, things that shape our world, sometimes in ways you wouldn't expect. Today, we are setting off on a pretty fascinating journey, I think. We're looking at a real cornerstone of tabletop gaming, the basic role-playing universal game engine. Most people just call it BRP.
Yeah, BRP. It's definitely a big one.
It really is. And it's not just, another game system. It's more like a blueprint almost, a kind of quiet architect that shaped so many role-playing games over, 4 decades now?
Oh, easily. Yeah, absolutely. If you trace back the family tree of a lot of modern RPGs, you'll find bits of BRP's DNA in there. It's design ideas. They just keep showing up.
Which says a lot about how, I guess, elegant and adaptable it is. Still relevant, still inspiring people.
Exactly. Still works.
So our mission today is to really get into this engine. We want to peel back the layers, see how it works. How do you build characters? How does combat flow? And also, how does it actually let game masters create whole worlds? Not just follow rules, but really build something. We're thinking of it like the operating system for just endless adventures.
That's a great way to put it, because it is incredibly flexible. It's not tied down to one genre. You want gritty detective stuff. Fine. You want epic space opera? BRP can handle it. High fantasy. Modern thrillers.
It covers all the bases.
Pretty much. The universality isn't just like a catchy name. It's baked into the core design.
Okay, so maybe you're a longtime gamer listening. Maybe you even played a BRP game without knowing it. Or maybe you're just curious about how the mechanics behind, say, fantasy stories actually work. Or you just love understanding complex systems.
How things tick.
Exactly, how they're built, why they last. Well, you're definitely in the right place. We think you'll find some surprising stuff here. We're going to try and map out what makes this universal game engine so enduring.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's start right at the beginning. What even is a role-playing game, according to BRP? The system itself has a nice description. It calls it something like improvisational theater.
Right.
Usually seated or online with video conferencing and with dice, determining whether the characters succeed or fail. It sounds simple, but there's a lot packed in there. That mix of storytelling and chance.
That improv theater comparison is really, really good, because at its heart, it is a conversation. It's dynamic. You've got the game master, the GM.
A director, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. The director, the narrator. They set the scene, describe the world, introduce challenges, and they play all the non-player characters, the NPCs. Everyone the players meet.
And they're the environment too, right? Like the weather, the spooky sounds in the house.
Everything that isn't the players. And then you, the listener, if you were playing, you and the other players, you are the main characters. Your player characters are PCs.
You decide what they do, what they say, how they react.
And the GM reacts back. Tells you what happens because of your choices.
Yeah.
So the story just sort of unfolds organically. Nobody knows exactly where it's going.
And that's where the dice come in, right? When things are uncertain.
Precisely. When success or failure really matters to the story, you roll the dice. And that brings in all the unpredictability.
It's that collaborative thing that's the real magic, isn't it? The GM builds the stage, sets up the drama.
But it's the players' choices, their unexpected moves, plus the dice. That's what creates those surprises, triumphs, unexpected reversals of fortunes, dismal defeats, and hair's breadth escapes. That's straight from the book, I think.
Yeah, it stops it feeling like you're just reading a script.
Yeah, exactly. It's structured, but it can go off in directions you just didn't see coming, which is brilliant.
Okay, now here's where BRP really starts to show its unique colors, where it gets really interesting, I think. Its signature mechanic.
The D100.
The percentile die. Yeah, the D100. This isn't just one way they do things. It's pretty much the way for almost all the core checks. Success or failure, it's a percentage chance.
And that's just so intuitive for anyone. Beginners get it straight away. Veterans appreciate the clarity. You see your skill number. You roll the dice. Easy.
It is, unlike some systems where you're juggling, like D4s, D6s, D8s, D10s, all for different things.
Yeah, damage rolls might use different dice, sure. But the core, did I succeed? Check. BRP keeps it super clean with the D100. Let's say your persuade skill is, 65%.
Okay.
You need to convince the guard to let you pass. And you roll the D100, you get a 65 or less. You did it. Simple as that.
And if you roll, say, a 66 or higher,
then you failed. Maybe the guard just isn't buying it. That transparency is fantastic. Players know their odds immediately. Helps them make smarter choices about risks.
So if you roll really low, like a 12, that's a solid success. Maybe you even get a bonus outcome.
Could be a critical success even.
But roll high, like a 90. You blew it. Maybe you accidentally insulted him.
Exactly. That directness, seeing that percentage chance right there, it's empowering. And every roll feels like it matters because the outcome is clear and can really swing the story.
It's funny how that mechanical predictability actually boosts the story's unpredictability.
Right. It stops it feeling predetermined. It allows for those moments where you beat the odds, or when a simple task goes horribly wrong and suddenly things get really interesting. The rules are the framework, but the dice keep things spicy.
Keeps everyone invested.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's talk more about the roles. The player's job. It's more than just saying, I hit the monster, right? You're supposed to actually roleplay your character.
Absolutely. Within their personality, their skills, the book gives great advice. Act as if you know as little or as much as the character would in life.
Separating player knowledge from character knowledge. That's key.
Crucial for immersion. You, the player, might know the big bad guy is vulnerable to silver, but does your barbarian character know that? Probably not, unless they learned it somehow in the game.
Right, you have to play what the character knows. And the GM, they're doing a lot.
Oh yeah, they're the ultimate guide, describing everything, interpreting rules, deciding outcomes, weaving player actions back into the story.
Yeah.
All while playing every other character, and maybe even the monsters.
It's a constant balancing act. Narrative, rules, player fun, world consistency.
It is demanding, no doubt, but incredibly rewarding when it clicks.
Seems like it. It's this whole collaborative dance. And speaking of crafting characters, that seems like the perfect place to go next. How do you actually build someone in BRP?
Right, character creation. This is where you start putting the pieces together.
Okay, let's unpack that. It begins with the core characteristics, right? The basic stats.
Yep. You've got strength, STR, constitution, CON, intelligence, INT, power, POW, which is kind of like willpower or magical potential, dexterity, DEX, size, SIZ, and charisma, CHA.
7 of them. Standard stuff, mostly.
Pretty standard. And there's an optional 8th one, education, EDU. Super useful for like modern games, sci-fi settings, anywhere. Formal learning or just, life experience matters for skills.
So EDU might give you more skill points for knowledge-based things.
Exactly. It represents what you've learned through schooling or just being around.
How do you get these numbers? Rolling dice.
Usually, yeah. Most are 3 six-sided dice. Gives you that nice bell curve where most people are average if you were really strong or weak.
Makes sense.
But for INT and SIZ, it's 2d6 plus 6, which bumps the average up a bit. The thinking is most people are reasonably smart and, well, average-sized.
Okay. And I saw something about tweaking the scores.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
After you roll everything, you can move up to 3 points around. Shift 1 from STR to DX, maybe, if you want a quicker character.
So you get a little control right at the start to fine-tune your concept.
Exactly. Helps make the character feel more like your character, not just random rolls.
And these stats have limits.
For humans, yeah. Physical ones, STR, CON, SIZ, DX, usually max out at 21. Keeps things somewhat grounded. But the mental ones, INT, POW, CHA, EDU, generally no upper limit during creation, so you can have geniuses or incredibly charismatic figures.
And each stat affects different things, like CON influences health.
Definitely. CON is crucial for hit points, resisting poison, disease, that sort of thing. SIZ affects hit points too, but also your height, weight, bulk, and your damage bonus in melee combat. Bigger people hit harder.
So the numbers aren't just abstract, they have real mechanical weight in the game.
Absolutely. Every point matters somewhere.
But characters are more than stats. Personality matters too, right?
Hugely. And BRP encourages thinking about that up front. It offers 4 archetypal personality types you can choose from. Brutal, skilled, cunning, and charming.
And these aren't just flavor, they give you bonuses.
They do. A pretty hefty plus 20% bonus to a whole group of related skills right off the bat. It really shapes your character's initial strengths.
Okay, so brutal gets bonuses to physical stuff. Fighting.
Exactly. Things like brawl, climb, dodge, maybe some weapon skills. Tells you immediately this character probably solves problems head on.
And cunning. More sneaky skills.
Yeah, deception, knowledge skills, appraise, disguise, lockpicking, research, things like that. They're likely to think their way around problems or trick people. Skilled gets bonuses to technique and craft skills. Charming to social skills. It really kickstarts your character concept.
That's neat. It gives you an immediate focus. Then you pick a job, a profession.
Right, your profession.
Yeah.
This is super important too. It gives you a backstory, sure, but mechanically it defines a chunk of your starting skills and gives you a dedicated professional skill point pool to spend on those job-related skills.
What kind of professions are there?
Lots of generic examples: artist, engineer, hunter, occultist, pilot, scholar, spy, warrior. Good starting points. But the cool thing is the game encourages you and the GM to make up your own.
Really? So you could be like a specifically defined cybernetic street doc or something.
Totally. Or derive a taxi driver from the pilot template, tweak the skills. Or a professional translator with specific language skills. It's very flexible. You're not locked into a rigid class list.
Love that. And profession ties into money, right? Wealth and status.
Directly. You determine a starting wealth level from destitute, literally penniless, up to wealthy, who wants for nothing. This dictates your starting gear, your economic standing in the world.
So a wealthy character might start with, like, a fancy car and nice clothes.
While a destitute character might just have the ragged clothes on their back and maybe a rusty knife, it massively impacts how you start the game and the kinds of problems you face immediately.
Yeah, I can see how starting with nothing versus starting rich creates totally different stories.
Big time. Those initial choices really set the stage.
Okay, so we have stats, personality, a job. Now, skill mastery. This is where the character actually learns to do things.
This is the core of what your character can do, yeah. And again, the main mechanic is beautiful in its simplicity. Roll percentile dice under your skill rating.
So if I have stealth at 60%, I roll D100.
Roll 60 or less, you succeed at being stealthy. Roll 61 or more, you stumble or get noticed. It's always that clear comparison.
Nice and clean. But life isn't always straightforward. Tasks have different difficulties.
Right. BRP handles that with difficulty modifiers. Some things are automatic, no roll needed, you just do it. Tying your shoes, maybe.
Okay.
An easy task doubles your effective skill for the roll. So that 60% stealth becomes 120%. You're almost certain to succeed.
Makes sense. Average is just your normal skill.
Yep. Then difficult tasks have your skill. So your 60% stealth drops to 30% if you're trying to sneak past super alert guards in broad daylight. Much tougher.
And impossible.
Pretty much what it says. Either no roll allowed, or maybe the GM lets you try on a roll of exactly 0.1%, like a 1 in 100 miracle shot.
So the context matters a lot. Trying to craft something without tools, that'd be difficult.
Exactly. The rules explicitly mention that example. It makes intuitive sense. The system also defines levels of expertise based on your percentage.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Amateur is 26-50%. You're barely qualified, okay, for easy stuff, maybe average if you're lucky. You don't need to roll for really basic everyday things in calm situations.
Okay, so they can function.
Professional is 51-75%. These people can reliably make a living with the skill. Think of it like having a degree in the subject. They probably don't need to roll for easy tasks anymore. Competent, reliable.
And the top tier?
Expert is 76-90%. That's advanced expertise. They can handle difficult tasks pretty reliably. They're the masters, the respected specialists, like someone with a PhD or years and years of experience. Complex stuff becomes routine for them, often no role needed if conditions are right.
That gives a nice sense of progression. Can skills get more specific?
Yeah, they can have specialties. Instead of just science, you might have science biology or science chemistry or drive car versus drive tank. Gives you a bonus when using that specific specialty.
Nice detail. And you mentioned complementary skills. How does that work?
That's a clever one.
Yeah.
If you have skills in related areas, they can sometimes boost each other. Like maybe your medicine skill and your science pharmacy skill could both give a small bonus to a first aid roll.
Ah, because the knowledge overlaps, like in real life.
Exactly. It makes characters feel more well-rounded and realistically knowledgeable. It's all part of building that detailed, believable character.
It really sounds like a robust system for defining characters. Okay, now for the really wild stuff. Powers.
Ah, yes. Powers. And this is where BRP's universal nature really shines. The system is incredibly flexible in handling all sorts of weird abilities.
It's not just magic, then.
Oh, no. It breaks powers down into 5 main types. The magic, classic spellcasting, mutations, like superpowers, but often more biological or chaotic. Psychic abilities, powers of the mind. Sorcery, which is often depicted as darker, maybe involving pacts or demons. And superpowers, like you'd see in comic books.
So that covers a lot of ground. So you could have a wizard, a mutant, and a psychic all in the same party.
Absolutely. The system is designed for that. And you could even mix and match skill levels and power levels.
Yeah.
You could have a character with immense physical power, but who's totally unskilled socially.
Yeah.
Or a brilliant scientist who happens to have one minor psychic trick.
That allows for some really unique character concepts, not just the standard archetypes.
For sure. You can tailor it exactly to the kind of game you want to run or play.
Okay, let's dig into those categories. Magic and sorcery first. How does magic work? Spells cost something.
Typically, yeah. Magic spells usually cost power points, that POW characteristic we mentioned. It fuels your magic. More powerful spells cost more points per level.
And what kind of spells are there? Any cool example?
Oh yeah, loads. You can conjure elementals, and not just generic ones, specific air sylphs, earth, gnomes, water, undines types, each with different abilities.
Tactical choices, then.
Definitely. There's control for mind control, which is a resisted roll, POW versus POW.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Heal is great, restores hit points, and get this, for 6 power points, it can actually reattach a severed limb.
Whoa, that's huge. Game-changing.
Big time. Invisibility lets you sneak around, attack, escape. Lift lets you move heavy stuff or even fly. Lightning is a classic damage spell, and the book notes it conducts through metal shields.
Ooh, nice detail for fighting armored knights.
Right. And wounding is magic damage that bypasses armor but needs a touch attack roll, so there's a whole toolkit. Magic users also have gear. They can cast from grimoires, spellbooks, but it takes time 1 combat round per spell level.
So casting a big spell from a book in combat is risky.
Can be.
Yeah.
And then there's the wizard's staff. Iconic, right?
Yeah.
But making one costs you a point of permanent POW. A real sacrifice.
Ouch! What does it do?
It acts as a power point battery. You can store points up to your current POW, and it even slowly regenerates points on its own. It's like an extension of your own magical energy. Invaluable for serious casters.
Okay, so that's magic. What about sorcery? How is it different? Sounds darker.
It often is, yeah.
Yeah.
Tends to involve binding entities, demons, elementals. Often carries a higher price or risk. Spells might include things like Curse of Sorcery to physically disfigure someone, or instigable bonds to immobilize them completely. Lichen shape lets you perfectly imitate someone else's appearance. Great for infiltration, but definitely morally gray territory.
And summoning things.
Yeah.
Demons.
Yeah, that's a big part of sorcery. Summoning demons requires specific rituals, magic circles, special items, and might cost you permanent BOW to bind them to your will. Very dangerous stuff if it goes wrong. Elementals are usually less malicious, more task-focused, but still powerful forces to command. High risk, high reward.
Definitely sounds distinct from standard magic. Okay, moving on from the arcane. Psychic abilities. Powers of the mind.
Right. Telekinesis, telepathy, that kind of thing. The cool part is these often work like skills in BRP. They have a percentage rating, you roll under it.
So similar mechanic, different flavor.
Exactly, but they often involve resistance rolls. If you try to read someone's mind, they might resist with their POW. If you try to telekinetically lift something huge, its SIZ might resist. It makes it interactive.
And there's psychic combat, like mind battles.
Yeah. It's a unique subsystem. Psychics fight in their astral forms. Initiative is based on INT, not DX. You basically attack each other's power points. And if you drain someone's power points completely, the overflow damage actually hits their physical hit points.
Wow, so a mental fight can actually kill you.
Potentially, yeah. It's pretty intense. Examples of powers. Divination, asking entities for information. Levitation, for moving things or yourself. Pyrokinesis, controlling fire, even putting flames out.
Interesting. Not just starting fires.
Right. Sensitivity lets you detect supernatural vibes or other psychic activity. And of course, telepathy, mind-to-mind communication. Lots of potential there for intrigue and problem solving.
Okay, mind powers covered. What about the really physical stuff? Mutations and superpowers.
Yeah, this is where you get into X-Men or comic book territory. Mutations give unique advantages, often physical ones, like hands could mean prehensile feet or an extra tail you can use.
Like extra actions in combat.
Could be. Or hardy, which gives damage resistance and can let you keep acting even when you're technically at negative hit points up to a point. Super resilient.
Wow. And structural improvement. Sounds major.
It is. Exoskeletons, natural armor, wings for flight, maybe even bonuses to stats like STR or a con. But the catch is, these mutations are often really hard to hide. Makes blending in tricky.
And there's a chaotic features table. Sounds fun.
It can be. Adds random, unpredictable traits. Might be cosmetic, might be a minor power, might be a drawback. Adds that element of wild unpredictability to mutants.
And then superpowers, like proper comic book stuff. Purchased with points.
Usually, yeah. You get a budget of character points to buy specific powers. Lots of cool options. Adaptation lets you survive in, say, vacuum or underwater, but doesn't protect you from attacks using those elements. It's about surviving the environment itself.
Okay. What about defense? Always important.
Crucial. BRP has armor and protection, and it details the order they apply, which is important. First is resistance. Does the power even affect you? Then protection might reduce the power level of the attack. Then armor subtracts from the damage. And finally, absorption, where you can potentially soak up damage and turn it into power points for yourself.
Whoa, turning damage into fuel. That's cool.
Very tactical. Then there's drain, letting you siphon hit points, power points, fatigue, even sanity from others. Pretty nasty.
Ouch. Energy powers. Blasts and stuff.
Yep. Energy control projection. Heat, sound, light, kinetic force. You name it. Melt things with heat control, stun people with sound control. Classic stuff.
Invisibility, how does that work?
Makes you really hard to hit. Attackers might be down to 15th their normal skill, or have to make the attack difficult even if they manage to sense you. Very effective.
Size change. Growing huge or shrinking.
Exactly. Get big, you hit harder but are easier to hit. Get tiny, you're hard to hit, great for sneaking, but your damage drops. Tactical trade-offs.
Super movement sounds useful.
Definitely. Air walking for flight, wall walking to climb sheer surfaces, ignoring difficult terrain. Gets you places others can't go.
And super senses.
Enhanced senses. Super smell taste to detect poisons.
Yeah.
Super touch to see in the dark by feeling vibrations. Super vision for range or magnification. Thermal vision to see heat signatures. All very useful.
What about fighting? Unarmed combat as a superpower.
Yeah, for your martial arts masters. Gives damage bonuses, natural armor to limbs, can even penalize opponents trying to hit you up close. Makes hand-to-hand deadly.
And you can have a sidekick, like another character.
You can. You pay for them out of your own character point budget. They're loyal, have their own skills, and maybe powers. Great for players who like managing more than one character or want a built-in ally.
Man, the sheer range of powers and how detailed they are, it really drives home that universal aspect. You could build almost anything.
Pretty much. Whatever concept you have, BRP likely has the tools to build it or lets you create it within its framework.
Okay, so we have these amazing characters with all these skills and powers. How does the game actually play? How do actions get resolved moment to moment?
Right, the mechanics in motion. At its core, BRP uses three main ways to figure out if something happens when the outcome's in doubt.
3 role types.
Basically, yeah. First, and most common, are skill rolls. We've talked about these roll percentile dice under your skill rating.
The D100 thing. Got it.
And remember the criticals. A roll of 01 to 05 is always a critical success if your skill is 5% or more. Just sheer brilliance, overcoming anything.
And the fumble.
96 to 0 or 100 is always a critical failure. Even if you have a 95% skill, you can still slip up catastrophically sometimes. Keeps things exciting.
Okay, skill rolls are number 1. What's number 2?
Characteristic rolls. These pop up when there isn't really a skill for what you're trying, but it relies on a raw attribute. Like, say, trying to hold a heavy portcullis open purely with brute strength.
No portcullis holding skill, huh?
Probably not. So you'd roll against a characteristic usually multiplied by 5. So if your STR is 14, you might roll against STR by 5, which is 70%. It gives a baseline chance based on your raw stats.
Makes sense. And the third type?
Resistance rolls. This is when two forces are directly opposing each other, like your STR versus a monster's SIZ in a grapple, or your POW versus a sorcerer's POW trying to dominate your mind.
A direct contest.
Exactly. There's a resistance table that makes it easy. You compare the two stats. If one is much higher, like 10 points or more difference, they might automatically succeed or fail, barring those critical 0-1 or 0-0 results. It's a neat way to resolve opposed actions quickly.
Okay, those 3 roles cover most situations, but what about the big one? Combat. How does that work? Sounds like it could be complex.
It has structure, definitely, but it flows once you grasp it. Combat happens in combat rounds, short bursts of action. Who goes when in a round is determined by Dexterity, DEX ranks. Higher DX means you act earlier. Speed matters.
So faster characters get the jump on slower ones?
Generally, yes. And you can be tactical. Aiming with a missile weapon, like taking extra time to line up a shot, gives you a bonus to hit.
So patience pays off.
Can do. You can also make aimed attacks at specific body parts. Want to disarm someone? Aim for their weapon hand. Want to take someone down quickly? Aim for the head, though that's usually harder to hit.
Adds a layer of precision.
Yeah.
And the environment matters too, like lighting.
Absolutely. Dim light, fog, loud noises. These all apply situational modifiers to your rolls. Makes you think about positioning and using the environment.
Okay, makes sense. Now the consequences. Getting hit. Hit points.
Yep, hit points measure your health based on your Cunnan and SIZ. Run out of HP, reach 0. You're usually down, maybe unconscious, possibly dying or dead, depending on the setting and rules. It's serious.
But what about really bad hits? Not just losing HP, but like crippling injury.
Yes. This is where BRP gets pretty gritty with the optional major wound rules. If you take a big chunk of damage in one hit, like more than half a limb's HP or a quarter of your total HP, yeah, it triggers a check on the major wound table. And the results aren't just losing more HP. They can be lasting, debilitating injuries. You might lose points of STR or a con or DX permanently.
Seriously, like permanent stat loss from one bad hit.
Can happen. The examples are vivid. A punctured lung might permanently lower your con. A deep stomach wound could get infected, constantly bothering you, maybe reducing your movement. It makes combat feel much more dangerous and consequential than just tracking hit points.
Wow, yeah, that raises the stakes considerably. How does healing work? Is it quick?
Not always. First aid right after combat can restore a few hit points, like 1d3. But natural healing for serious wounds, that's slow. Maybe only 1d3 hit points per week of rest. Injuries can linger.
Makes sense with those major wounds. Adds realism. Any other cool combat effects?
Oh yeah, impaling weapon spears, arrows are nasty. You can't heal the damage until the weapon is removed, and moving while impaled causes more damage.
Ouch. Tough choices there.
And knockback. A powerful hit can send you staggering backward, maybe even knock you flat on your back unless you make a roll, usually SIZ versus the damage, to resist it. Adds dynamism to fights.
It sounds very physical, very impactful. What about dangers outside combat? Hazards?
BRP covers those too. Environmental hazards are a big deal. Darkness might force you to rely on listen or sense rolls instead of sight. Falling does damage based on distance, and it can hit multiple body parts, making it really dangerous.
Makes sense. Fire. Poison.
Fire does damage round after round and can set you alight, causing ongoing panic and pain. Poison has potency rating, POT. You have to resist, maybe multiple times. Antidotes can reduce the POT. And things like vacuum exposure. The rules detail how quickly you suffocate or suffer damage from lung collapse if you don't exhale. It tries to model these things realistically.
Adds a lot of texture beyond just fighting monsters. Okay, what about getting around? Movement and time.
Handled pretty clearly. Your MOV stat tells you how many meters you move per round in combat, walking or running. But it also scales up to calculate travel speed in kilometers per day for longer journeys.
And terrain affects travel speed?
Definitely. Forests, mountains, swamps, they all slow you down. Bad weather like storms can cut your travel speed drastically. Makes planning journeys important.
What about chases, like car chases or running through alleys?
BRP handles chases more abstractly. It focuses on maneuvers, obstacles, maybe vehicle damage, rather than needing a detailed map for every twist and turn. Makes it work for anything from horse chases to spaceship dogfights. Keeps the focus on the excitement.
That's smart. Keeps the pace up. Now, one last mechanic that sounded interesting. Fate points, giving players more control.
Yeah, fate points are an optional rule, but a really popular one. It gives players some agency after the dice have rolled, which could feel great.
How does it work? You spend something.
You spend power points, usually. That pool you use for magic or psychic powers. You can burn some to influence a roll. You could turn a disastrous fumble into just a normal failure. Or, more dramatically, turn a failure into a success.
Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
Exactly. It lets players have those heroic moments even when the dice weren't initially kind.
But it does more than just change roles, right? Something about adding details.
Yeah, this is the really cool narrative part. You can spend fate points to add a small detail to the scene, or retroactively decide something about your character's background or gear.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, say your character is trapped in a dark cell, totally disarmed. You could spend fate points to suddenly remember you tucked away a couple of matches, or maybe you find a loose stone in the wall that could be used as a makeshift tool.
Whoa, so you can sort of edit the scene slightly in your favor.
In small, plausible ways, yeah. It has to make sense. The GM has final say. But it lets players be creative, solve problems in unexpected ways, and feel like they have a bit more narrative control beyond just reacting. It's a great tool for collaborative storytelling.
That seems fantastic. A way to avoid those purely bad luck killed the story moments.
Exactly. It empowers players and often leads to cooler moments.
Okay, we've built characters, explored powers, seen how actions in combat work. What about the person pulling all the strings, the game master?
Yeah.
What does BRP say about their role?
Well, it acknowledges it's a demanding job. The book says the game master is always on. You're juggling narration, playing NPCs, managing rules, keeping track of everything. It's a lot.
Yeah, sounds intense. But rewarding, presumably.
Hugely rewarding. And BRP, because of that intuitive percentile system, can actually be a good starting point for new GMs. It makes recruiting players, especially new ones, a bit easier because the core mechanic isn't intimidating.
That's a good point. So once the GM has players, how do they structure the game, the adventure design?
BRP talks about traditional story structures. Beginning, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. Pretty standard narrative flow for a single adventure. But for longer campaigns, there's more variety.
Like what kind of campaigns?
You could have an ongoing one, where adventures are mostly self-contained, or a grand unifying scheme where everything builds towards a big finale. Theme-wise, you could have task-based games, collect the 7 crystals, story-driven ones focused on drama and character impact, or location-based games where the adventures come to the player's home base.
And GMs have different styles, right? Like letting players do anything versus guiding them more.
Exactly. The classic sandbox world versus railroading debate. Sandbox gives players immense freedom, but the GM has to improvise a lot. Railroading keeps the story on a specific track, which can be easier to manage but might feel restrictive to some players. Most GMs find a balance somewhere in between.
A key thing must be making the players care about the story, integrating their characters.
Absolutely vital. Why is your character involved? What are their stakes? Sometimes the easiest way is just to ask the players directly at the start. Okay, here's a situation. Why is your character here? What's your connection? Gets them invested immediately.
That's smart. Any other storytelling tricks for GMs?
BRP mentions a couple. Jobber sequences, borrowing from wrestling, are scenes designed to let a skilled character easily overcome minor opposition, just to show off how capable they are. Makes the player feel cool.
Nice, like a quick action scene establishing the hero.
Right. And the bait and switch, where the initial premise turns out to be misleading, revealing a different, maybe bigger conflict, can be great for twists, but the book warns GMs to use it carefully. Too much can frustrate players if they feel their initial goals were ignored.
Handle with care. Got it. Okay, so the GM designs the story. They also need to populate the world with creatures and NPCs.
Yep. And the neat thing is, monsters and NPCs in BRP use the same basic rules as player characters. They have stats, skills, maybe powers, just usually less detailed to make them easier for the GM to run.
Keeps things consistent. What kind of creatures are in the book?
A huge variety. Fantasy staples like dwarves, elves, goblins, horror classics like ghosts, vampires, zombies, sci-fi threats like killer robots and gray aliens, even high-powered beings like angels, demons, elementals. Lots of templates to use or modify.
And the GM can adjust them, make them tougher or weaker?
Definitely. There's guidance on scaling the challenge. For heroic games, maybe double their hit points or boost key stats. For epic games, maybe triple skill ratings. For superhuman games, you can go even further, adding extra powers. Lets you tailor opponents to fit the power level of the player characters.
Very flexible. Lastly, what about equipment the gear characters use?
Tied back to that wealth level we talked about earlier. What you can afford depends on how rich you start.
And the quality of the gear matters.
Big time. Equipment quality inferior, average, superior, directly modifies skill rolls. Bad tools give penalties, up to an extra 20%. Good tools give bonuses, up to plus 20%. Trying to do something without the required gear might be difficult or even impossible.
Emphasizes having the right tools for the job.
Exactly. And for fantasy or sci-fi games, you can even have powered gear magic items, mutant tech, sorcerer's artifacts. But getting these usually costs something significant, like sacrificing permanent POW or con points, represents the commitment needed to wield powerful items.
So powerful gear isn't just found lying around usually. It has a cost.
Often, yeah. And these items can be quite complex. They might have their own PowerPoint pools, maybe even skills or intelligence and personalities. They're not just static bonuses. They can be active parts of the game.
It really sounds like every piece connects. Stats, skills, powers, gear, rules. It all weaves together.
That's the beauty of it. It's a cohesive, detailed system designed to handle pretty much anything you throw at it.
So as we wrap this up, looking back at the basic role-playing universal game engine, it's really clear why it's stuck around and been so influential, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's robust, it's incredibly flexible, and the level of detail it offers means you can genuinely run adventures in almost any genre you can dream up. Bronze Age swords and sandals, far future space opera, urban fantasy. BRP provides that solid foundation.
It really is a testament to that core design, isn't it? That balance between clear mechanics, like the percentile system, and this huge freedom for characters and settings.
Definitely. The character creation, the diverse power systems, the gritty combat options, the world-building support, it all comes together to create this amazing toolkit for telling stories. It lets players be creative and gives GMs the structure they need.
It's that mix, I think. Structured, but simple at its core. Complex possibilities, but elegant mechanics. It gives you the tools, then kind of gets out of the way and lets you create.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It enables creativity rather than restricting it. Which leads to a final thought, maybe.
Go for it.
Given just how adaptive this engine is, think about it. If you had this near infinite palette of stats, skills, powers, what kind of world would you build? What story? Absolutely needs that level of flexibility.
That's definitely something to chew on. A great question to leave our listeners with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on the Uncanny Valley podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep exploring those hidden depths.